Other sounds and samples that I use, really kind of all over the place. Does feature a Rhodes and Mellotron part for Just the Way You Are. And for this particular version of the Rhodes, though, I have the phaser turned on to really capture that sound from the record. But I also have this Mellotron choir drone happening that you hear in the record. It's just this very quiet pad that sort of really sets the tone for the tune, but it sounds like this. And usually I'm fading the volume in on the choir so that it's not just this big abrupt sound. On Always a Woman to Me, which we play essentially as a solo piece, there's a classical guitar that's doubling the piano part. It sounds a little bit like this. On Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, we have a good bit going on. There's, we've got an accordion part that starts the tune off. And then we come in with a string part that's kind of very lush and melodramatic. And then we have this, then towards the middle of the tune, we have some tuba and trombone happening. It sounds a little bit like this. And then we have a big brassy horn section towards the outro. We also have some sample playback happening where I've loaded some external samples. In Moving Out, in the outro, we have the sound of a car screeching out of a driveway. And so I trigger that from the nano control and I play it back. So that's a lot of fun. And then I just fade it down on the nano control because it's about a 45-second piece of audio. We clearly don't need the entire thing. But also, at the very beginning of You May Be Right, we have this broken glass that I trigger. And I actually pulled that right off of the record and loaded it into MainStage. So that's how that works. And in both of these cases, what I'm doing is I'm using a program called Playback, which is another stock Logic plugin. So what happens, you just load it in, you load your sample into this plugin, you map the controls, the MIDI controls to your controller, and you're off to the races. One interesting thing about this show is that I have a piece of genuine Elton John technology at work here. In Philadelphia Freedom, the flute trills are recorded samples provided by Elton John's touring keyboard player, a man by the name of Kim Bullard. He's a really great guy. I met him one time at a wedding gig, and I got to talking to him, and I struck up some correspondence with him, and he was kind enough to email me these samples, which is there are two flute phrases, these two flute trills. And what I do is I map each trill to a key on the keyboard. It sounds like this. And what I'm able to do is play the string part and trigger the flutes at the same time. It sounds like this. I also have a sampled tambourine which I trigger for certain parts of Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. On some tour dates, we, for some reason, don't have a tambourine in the theater. So in the event that we don't, then no fear, I have one right here. And a few other things. I play accordion on Piano Man and mandolin and some other just various and sundry utility parts. So that in a nutshell is how the show is run. In some ways it seems a little complicated, in some ways maybe not so much. The main thing, like I said, is keeping things optimized to make it run smoothly. And just a word about that, the way I handle running any session in MainStage is I make sure that I'm not running any other applications. So I close everything out. I turn off Wi-Fi and I disable cloud services and it really just anything else that might be going on in the background robbing me of CPU resources. I use a small desktop fan that I got at Walmart that I put right on the laptop just to keep the machine running cool. I usually prop the machine up off of whatever surface it's resting on, even if it's just a small piece of wood, or if I have a laptop stand handy, then I'll put it on there. And I also keep all of my samples stored on an external USB hard drive so that it's not taking up any space on my actual system hard drive. Okay, well that is it for the most part. I hope you enjoyed this demonstration. I welcome your feedback, and if you have any thoughts that you'd like to share with me, I'd love to hear from you. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the road.